Hi kids, this is Mr. Peoples here. We didn't have time in class to see some of the pictures about Pearl Harbor, so I'm going to make this video here so you can take a look at them if you want to on your own time. There's some pretty neat ones in here. I got a chance to go to Pearl Harbor 2 years ago over spring break. My wife and I went, and one of the first stops I went to was to go to the Pearl Harbor Naval Base and check it out. And so some of the pictures you're going to see here are from the museum, while others are actually from being at the Arizona Memorial. On the screen, what you see is a model replica of one of the Japanese aircraft carriers that the planes for the attack were launched from. The planes were launched from about, I think 200 miles away from Pearl Harbor that morning. And so this is what one of those aircraft carriers would have looked like in a model form. This is in the Visitor Center at Pearl Harbor. This next picture, shows a diagram of the torpedoes and why it was thought that the torpedoes could not be used at Pearl Harbor, but because of a new invention that the Japanese came up with, allowed their torpedoes to run more shallow and have an effect on the ships. And so you can see that in this diagram here. This is a painting that shows the airplanes launching their torpedoes towards the battleships on Battleship Row. And again, this is a gigantic painting. You can see a person standing over here, just so you can see the size of the painting. Very detailed, and you can see, I believe you can see the Oklahoma and the West Virginia ships from right here. Oh, matter of fact, there you go. There's the diagram of the diagram. You can see the Tennessee, the West Virginia, all of the battleships on Battleship Row. This shows a diagram of where the bombs hit the USS Arizona, and you can see the bombs were hit twice, or the bombs hit twice. The second one was the most destructive because it hit right where the ammunition was located, and so around 1,500 men were killed when that second bomb hit the Arizona. This is a draft of Franklin Roosevelt's speech where he asks for Congress to declare war. I think it's fun to see just the edits that the president made. One of the biggest edits was probably the most famous part of the speech where he says, yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. If you'll notice that word was added later. It wasn't his original choice, and I think that's just amazing because that's one of the most well-known parts of that entire speech, that infamy part. So it's interesting to see how even presidents have to edit their stuff. This is a model diagram of the USS Arizona and its memorial sitting above it, so you can get a sense of the ship that's sitting on the harbor floor and the memorial and how it's kind of there above the ship. There's another view of it. Again, you can see that that building is held up by pylons right next to the ship. The ship was the final resting place for around 1,500 men. And so inside the memorial, in a second when you go inside, you'll see that on this wall right here is where the names of those men that were killed in the attack are written on that particular wall. This represents the front of the ship, by the way, and so I'll show you where that is here when we get outside. There is outside of Pearl Harbor. You can see this is where the Arizona is sitting under the water, and then this ship is actually docked in about the place where the Oklahoma was docked, but this is not the Oklahoma. This is the battleship USS Missouri, and you can see that's what the Arizona would have looked very similar to that battleship, and it would have been sitting right here. This USS Missouri is where the Japanese signed the surrender to end World War II. And so when you go and visit Pearl Harbor, you can visit the place where the United States was drawn into the war, and then just a little bit not far from there, you can also visit the spot where the war ended for the United States. This on the deck of this ship was where the Japanese signed their surrender. And I'll show you pictures of that in class or at a different time. Won't show that in this video, but it's quite a neat ship to go to. And so we're just waiting to get on the ferry to head off to the Arizona Memorial. I'm kind of shooting around. You can see the mountains of Hawaii, and you can see the airplanes would have been coming from this direction, and from over in this area here, they would have been coming on that Sunday morning when they attacked Pearl Harbor. Another aerial view of the harbor with the Navy ships in it. All right, and then they've got a couple of different things outside which are kind of neat to look at. A replica of the island of Oahu, and you can see where some of the things are. This is the actual bell from the USS Arizona that was taken off of it when the top part of the ship was taken out of the water. And then we're making our way slowly to the memorial. Here we go. Here we're inside the memorial, and we're looking at the wall that has the names of 1,500 soldiers who were killed when their ship was blown up by a Japanese bomb. And then what I found most striking about that list of people is the number, like even right here, you can see Brown's a pretty common name, but there were a number of brothers and cousins who were on the ship who, when they died with their relatives with them. This box right here is for the names of people who survived the Pearl Harbor attack, and then later on, and you can see some of these are more recent, when they died later on, they chose to be buried in the ship with their shipmates. And so a Navy SEAL, when they do that, they have a funeral, and the Navy SEAL goes into, there's one of the turrets of the ship, and the Navy SEAL goes inside, and there's a little spot inside there where they place the cremated remains of the people who want to be buried there with their shipmates. And so those names on that box were all the names of people that were buried with their shipmates. There's the actual ship underneath the memorial building. You can see a fish in that one. It's just sitting right there under the surface of the water. This is looking towards the front of the ship. There's still oil in that ship, and it's been leaking up ever since 1941. And on the water, you can see right here the oil on the top of the water. Okay, and it's got an oil smell when you're there. You can smell the oil that's sitting on top of the water. But it's a really weird experience. So that oil has been dribbling up ever since 1941 when the ship was sunk. There's one of the turrets that I was talking about. It's not this particular turret that they go into. There's one behind the water, under the water, right back here, where a Navy SEAL will go into, and there's a little spot inside the turret under the water there that they place the remains of people that want to be buried with their shipmates. Again, you can see the ship underneath the water, under the surface there. It's just a very neat experience to get a chance to go there. It's quiet. It's like going and visiting a cemetery, but it's a very, very, very neat experience to see it. All right, we're kind of making our way out of the memorial here. As we go, I want to show you, this is the angle where airplanes would have been coming from. The first wave would have came from this side of the mountains, while the second wave of planes would have came from this side of the mountains. You can also see this is where the back of the ship would have been. That white buoy represents the back of the ship. That bridge would not have been there back then. There would have been other ships lined around in the harbor here. Again, more oil. You can see all the oil on the surface of the water. There's a good close-up of the oil. All right, and then this is our exiting back onto the ferry boat and back. Again, the ship is right beneath where that building is located. You can see all the people looking at it. The names of the sailors are on this wall over here. It's a very neat memorial. If you want to see an actual video of the memorial, I will post that up on my website as well. I've got a little video that I made when I was actually walking through it, so you can take a look in real video of what the inside of the memorial looks like. Thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed looking at these photographs, and we'll talk soon.